Welcome back to the Actary Magic Channel. I'm Steve, the Actary. Today, we are talking about the absolute worst commanders you can face in EDH, according to statistics that I made up. Anyway, before we get into that, I want to let you know we're sponsored today by MTG On Command. They make these really beautiful deck boxes. They're 3D printed. You get to show off your commander on the front. I love them a lot. Also, we're going to give one of these away to one of our Patreons. Link in the description below if you want to check that out. Thank you so much for looking. But let's talk about the top 5 worst commanders you can play against. Now, first on, let's get some honorable mentions up in here. The first honorable mention is Angie Falconwrath. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is a 3-drop, 1/3 vampire with haste. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Black and red. It says tap, discard a card, draw a card. Okay, cool. Whenever you discard a card, if it has madness, untap Angie Falconwrath. Now, on the surface, you don't think, oh, this is not a big deal. She taps and draws. Not a big deal. There's enough madness cards for her to be ridiculous. Now, the reason I think that she's ridiculous is because most people do not know how to play her properly. So what I feel you should do whenever somebody is playing this commander is you don't let them play that commander. And this is how I propose you do that. You play Pithing Needle, and you make sure you have an Urza's Saga in your deck. Pithing Needle says, as it enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. And Urza's Saga is a land that lets you search it up and just say, no more Angie. Stop the Anginess. Stop. Also, things you can search up with Urza's Saga are Sensei's Divining Top, always useful, or Skull Clamp if you happen to have your own sacrifice creature mechanic thing going on. These are really great also. But if you still don't want them to play Angie, you have some other options, like Suppression Field. For white and a generic, it's an enchantment that says activated abilities cost 2 more to play unless they're mana abilities. Stop it, Angie. Stop going infinite. Stop storming off whenever you don't know how to play the deck. Otherwise, the card's fine. I don't care. Please. Go play by yourself for a while. Because it's basically what it is whenever you play it in Commander game. Stop it. Harsh Mentor. They're going to take a point, 2 points of damage every time they activate Angie. You're going to die if you start storming off. So, these are the ways that I say, no, nah, stop it. I don't want it. Anyway, next up, number 5 on our list. Tergrid, God of Fright, switches to Tergrid's Lantern. Tergrid's Lantern, it's not the offending part. Tergrid, God of Fright is so frustrating because she's always built around. She's a 5-drop, 4 or 5 minutes, blah, blah, blah. She says when an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It hurts my soul to lose my stuff. Stop it. Now, there's a card you should be running if this is in your meta at all. Usually people who play Tergrid get hated out, so you don't usually see them. But the card you want to be playing, if they're still running around, play some Homeward Path. It says tap, add a colorless mana, or tap, each player gains control of all creatures he or she owns. At least you get your creatures back. But still, really good. Next up we have number 4 on our list, 4 on our list. AC Tyrant of the Gyre Strait. They take like 15-minute turns and then they don't kill you. Stop it. Okay, so AC Tyrant of the Gyre Strait is a 6-drop 5/5. It says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Okay, the land triggers deck, the landfall deck, just absurd. There's just so many triggers going on. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So if you're ramping at all or getting a whole bunch, you're just going to be drawing a lot. Then you have more stuff to go do, because now you've got all these new lands in play and you've got all of this new mana and so I want to make sure that they can't do that. So Tectonic Instability says whenever a land comes into play, tap all lands its controller controls. So good. Then Mana Web says whenever any land target opponent controls is tapped, it's any opponent, is tapped for mana. Tap all lands he or she controls that can produce any type of mana that land could produce. So if they happen to tap a forest, now everything that taps for green is now going to get tapped with Mana Web. So that means their breeding pool, that means their command tower, that means, I forget the pain land that does it. Yavimaya Coast. So all of those lands just get tapped. Now if they tap a blue source, now the breeding pool, islands, all that stuff is going to be tapped. And now it's really going to jack with their turn. It's going to make it really hard for them to do everything that they want to do because the information is going to be goofy. They're never going to get it's so good. And it also forces control players to be very, very particular about when they do anything. I like it a lot. So it's not just against AC decks that these cards work. Okay. Next up we have Sithis Harvest's Hand. I know there's a ton of you people that love this card. I played against this guy who had like the blinged out version, and it was ridiculous. It was so hard to mess with. It was so hard to beat. He had answers to everything. It was just, bleh. Unless you have specific hate, and people have been taking advantage of the fact that nobody's running enchantment hate. So I'm suggesting you hate on some enchantments because they draw so many cards. It's ridiculous. I say blow them up. Blow them up. Back to Nature and Tempest of Light. They say they're instants that destroy all enchantments. Run one copy. Just one. On the off chance, you just get to wipe their board silly. It makes me so happy. The crying whenever somebody loses their whole dang board. It's so great. Okay, number 2 on our list. I hate him. Edgar, 6-drop. Mardu, 4/4. Says whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. Eminence was a mistake. Okay, it says first strike and haste whenever he attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. I hate him. Hate him. Hate him. So I propose that you run some good old-fashioned creature hate. And I like Divine Reckoning, which says double white and 2 generic. Each player chooses a creature they control, destroy the rest. Yes, please. Get rid of that stuff. Or Curse of Death's Hold, enchant player, creatures enchanted player controls get -1/-1. Period. They just stay. So every time they come into play, unless he's got some kind of Anthem effect, they're just going to get nuked from orbit. Plague Engineer is also really great here. Now, number 1 on our list, drum roll please. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. You could also run these. So ways you can deal with other ways you can deal with Edgar, Aetherize or Displacement Wave. Aetherize is going to return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands, which means all those tokens are just gone. Displacement Wave says return all non-land permanents with converted mana cost X or less to their owner's hands. That means mana rocks. That means everything. So I really encourage you to pay 4 for this so that you can bounce everything converted mana cost 2 or less. You get rid of all those tokens, so many of those lords. It's so good. I don't know why people aren't playing that card. Number 1 on the list, Satoru Umezawa. Now, a lot of you would say Yuriko is way worse. I personally like Yuriko because at least she ends the game for everybody very quickly. And also, she's going to get hated out. Satoru, that makes ninjas out of things that should not be ninjas. Okay? Really awful. Each creature card in your hand has ninjutsu 4. So Blightsteel Colossus is tapped and attacking for 4 mana. Oh my goodness. That's awful. Whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. This ability triggers only once each turn, but still, awful. Awful, awful. Because you just die out of nowhere to random crap. Oh, so gross. So things that I like to run against it. Aetherize and Settle the Wreckage. For 4 mana, you get to deal with all of that craziness. Aetherize puts them back in their hand, all attacking creatures, so all of their ninja dudes back in their hand. Settle the Wreckage is fantastic. It says exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search his or her library for that many basic lands. Put those cards on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So Settle the Wreckage, outright just better than Aetherize, but still, they're both really, really powerful. Really, really good. Anyway, these are the commanders that I hate the most to sit down and play against. Please let me know in the comments below what your least favorite commander is to play against. Link in the description below for my Patreon and my my MTG on Command link. These deck boxes are so sweet. I have a project for them, and I can't wait to show it to you guys at a later video. But anyway, love you guys. I hope you have a great day, and I want to say thank you to my Patreon members. Gabriella, thank you so much. Cade, awesome buddy. Annabelle, couldn't do it without you. And Austin, thank you, bro. I love you. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out. I couldn't do this without all of you. Have a good night. Bye. Where's Bob?